Hello, my friends. Meg is here on a beautiful day in Asha, up here in the library. Got a warm cup of coffee. It's blustery outside today. The wind is blowing. It's kind of snow and hail. Perfect day to be inside with my best friends, books, and I wanted to share with you today 5 of my all-time favorite that I can actually say I absolutely love them. I've read them multiple times. The covers are falling off. You'll see they're all tabbed up and written in and highlighted. And I wish someone would have pointed these books out to me. You know, I've read hundreds and hundreds of books, and every once in a while you come across that one that is just perfect for you. And you know, it's kind of funny. I have a new favorite. It's Circe by Madeline Miller. And any of you that know me know for the longest time, my favorite was Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. I mean, I probably read some part of this every day just for the beautiful prose. As I say, I got a picture of Oscar Wilde on my shelf. I feel like he's judging me. Hold on one sec. Okay, I feel a little better. I will always love this book so much. It's the first book I ever came across that I realized the power in words like this, that it can just, I mean, it can take you into a different world with words. Words could be so beautiful, it could bring a tear to your eye, that you could smell the flowers as he's describing them. I could picture myself sitting in that black gondola with silver prow as it headed out to the Lido, and you could just picture being there. It was so gorgeous. And I'm going to read a little bit of that to you, but I'd have to say my new favorite book is Circe by Madeline Miller, and it's got the beautiful prose of a poet. I love it when poets write novels. It's the most beautiful thing. And, you know, Oscar Wilde, of course, he wrote poetry, and Madeline Miller's, I know she reads a lot of poetry. I don't know that much about her. I wonder if she actually writes it too. But it just shows. It is so gorgeous. But then this story, I wanted to live on Circe's Island. It was just, everything about this book at the time I read it, it just resonated with me. And I'll talk a little more about it. And I'm hoping out of one of these 5 books, one of these will resonate with you, and you'll pick it up and try it, and then come back to the comments and let me know if you loved it as much as I did. So let's start with my number 1 favorite, Circe. Circe was a goddess, and of course raised with the gods and goddesses, and she didn't really fit in. She was the black sheep of the family, and she ended up being exiled to a deserted island, and it ended up being the greatest thing that could ever happen to someone. You know, she realized that the gods weren't that good. They were narcissists. They were unkind and cruel, and their hatred could last throughout eternity, and their punishments. And when she got to this island, she started to see a world she didn't know existed. And of course, Circe was the first witch, and she learned how to put a shield over her island so the gods couldn't intrude, couldn't see her, couldn't enter her island. It just became her safe place. And if you're like me, I love my home. It's where I raised my kids. I've got the greatest memories. This is my island here. And so I could just really just feel what she was feeling. And my friend, she lives with lions and wolves, and just and then the wording. Can I read some of it to you? What I do, how I tab is yellow is quotes I like. Orange is like life-shaking things that I'm all blew my mind. And then pink is just beautiful writing. So I think what I want to do is just read you some of the pink, some of the beautiful writing, just so you get an idea of why I fell in love with this. She said, I could rise and step into my woods. Often my lion would pace beside me. It was the deepest pleasure walking in the cool air, the damp leaves brushing at our legs. Sometimes I would stop to harvest this flower or that, and day by day the island bloomed. My garden climbed the walls of my house, breathed its scent through my windows. I left the shutters open by then. I did what I liked. If you asked me, I would have said I was happy. So beautiful. Let me read just a little more and then we'll go on to the next book. She says, I rose from my stool and made myself walk the island, admiring the changes every hour brought. The water striders skimming over the ponds, the stones rolled green and smooth by river currents, the bees flying low, freighted with pollen. The bays were full of lashing fish. The seeds broke from their pods. My lilies from Crete, they thrived. Spring passed into summer and summer into fragrant autumn. There were mists now in the morning and sometimes storms at night. Winter would come soon with its own beauty. The green hellebore leaves shining amid the brown and the cypress tall and black. Isn't that beautiful? And so, the whole story is gorgeous. And just how she describes everything she's doing. You feel like you're in the garden. You feel like you're a part of the magic. She lives in this beautiful cabin, and like it'll clean itself, and the wood replaces itself, and of course she's working on her spells and magic and perfecting it. And then by the end of the book, well, maybe I shouldn't give spoilers. I don't want to tell you how the book ends. I want to tell you so bad how it ends, but I won't. All right, my second first picture of Dorian Gray. When I read the first page, I literally fell in love. Well, my friends, that's the closest I could describe it to, is falling in love. I'm not even joking. I would wake up in the middle of the night and it'd be like 2, 3 in the morning, and I just couldn't wait for the sun to rise so I could just get up and get back into the book. It's like when you fall in love and you just lay there thinking about them. I fell in love with words. And what I did with this book, I thought, I need to know what the magic is in this. How did he do that? How did he just hypnotize me with these words? And I believe I found out, my friends, and I'll share that with you. But first, I got to show you this writing. You'll know right away if it hits you or not. Listen to this. See if you can just picture it. Picture the studio. Picture the light. Picture the smells and the sounds. The studio was filled with a rich odor of roses. And when the light summer wind stirred amidst the trees of the garden, there came through the open door the heavy scent of the lilac, or the more delicate perfume of the pink flowering thorn. From the corner of the divan of Persian saddlebags on which he was lying, smoking, as was his custom, innumerable cigarettes, Lord Henry Wotton could just catch the gleam of the honey-sweet and honey-colored blossoms of laburnum, whose tremulous branches seemed hardly able to bear the burden of a beauty so flame-like as theirs. And now and then the fantastic shadows of birds in flight flitted across the long tussore silk curtains that were stretched in front of the huge window, producing a kind of momentary Japanese effect, and making him think of those pallid jade-faced painters of Tokyo who, through the medium of an art that is necessarily immobile, seek to convey the sense of swiftness and motion. The sullen murmur of the bees shouldering their way through the long unmowed grass, or circling with monotonous insistence round the dusty gilt horns of the straggling woodbine, seemed to make the stillness more oppressive. The dim roar of London was like the burdened note of a distant organ. And in the center of the room, clamped to an upright easel, stood the full-length portrait of a young man of extraordinary personal beauty, and in front of it, some little distance away, was sitting the artist, Basil Hallward. Of course, Basil is my favorite character in this book. And my friends, just, you either know or if that hits you or not. If you just thought, I need more of that. And the whole book is written like that. And there's, oh my God, there's so much. And it's not even the story, really. The story's interesting, don't get me wrong. It's a great Gothic tale, and there's mystery, but it's not the story that got me. It's just the writing and the words. And I remember thinking, what is the magic? And I think I discovered it here. Let's see if I can find my orange tab. If thought could exercise its influence upon a living organism, might not thought exercise an influence upon dead and inorganic things? Nay, without thought or conscious desire, might not things external to ourselves vibrate in unison with our moods and passion, Adam calling to Adam and secret love, our strange affinity? So he's talking about how the intention, the soul of the artist can actually be put into the art or the book or the words. And it's the atoms vibrating the very soul of the artist. And it's funny, Oscar Wilde talks about in here about the artist not trying to put himself in the art, but it's exactly what Oscar Wilde does. Listen to this. Every portrait that is painted with feeling is a portrait of the artist, not the sitter. The sitter is merely the accident, the occasion. It is not he who is revealed by the painter. It is rather the painter who on the colored canvas reveals himself. The reason I will not exhibit this picture is that I'm afraid that I have shown in it the secret of my soul. And I tell you what, I feel that's what Oscar Wilde does with his writings. You see the soul of Oscar Wilde, and somehow he got just that frequency, that vibration of it into a book, my friends, and you sense it, and it's absolutely beautiful. Oh boy, third favorite book. This is hard. I'll tell you the three I've got. Like, those two were easy. These ones, they're all great in different ways. I have Ready Player One, and this is by Ernest Cline. And this is just one of those books where you just want to read it straight through. It's exciting. And I'm thinking, how much can I tell of this without giving it away? This one's almost better going, you don't even need to know anything about it. I guarantee you'll love it. I don't know anyone that I've given this book to that hasn't absolutely loved it. I love that it's got, because I grew up in the 80s, and so it's got a lot of 80 references. It's about video games, it's about AI, and it's an amazing, fun ride. If you're looking for a book to make you just fall in love with reading again, some of the books I read, they're not that engaging, but I just love reading. Like, I like everything to do with it. I like going to the bookshop and finding a book, and I'm coming home and I'll light a candle and I'll make something warm to drink and sit and read a little bit. And I enjoy that. But some books, it's just about the book. You can't put it down. You love the story. That's what Ready Player One was for me. I'm going to save Night Circus for last, because it's kind of a funny story to that. I didn't fall in love with this the first read, but I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I went back to it, and then I kept going back to it over and over and over. And I fell absolutely in love with it. I got to talk about The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I love books about books. I love books. I mean, any of you that have come over from my other channel know I wrote a book, Asha, and it's the love of my life. It's like, I won't even go into that on this channel, but if you check out my other Megas channel, you'll see. But this is a book about books, and there's like a library, and you go and you pick out one book that you're going to save, so that it doesn't just disappear. You find a book that just calls out to you. And because, authors die and books get forgotten about. And so this young man, he finds a book, and then it's his job to hold it and keep the story alive. And I thought that's so beautiful, because I hope someday there's someone that'll, when I'm gone, will keep Asha alive. Can I read some of this to you? It says, I still remember the day my father took me to the cemetery of forgotten books for the first time. That's the very first page. When I read that, I was hooked. He says, every book, every volume you see here has a soul. Isn't that beautiful? Makes me think of the picture of Dorian Gray. It makes me think of my book, Asha. When you see that little orange book, Asha, you see the Magus, don't you? Every book, every volume you see here has a soul, the soul of the person who wrote it and of those who read it and lived and dreamed with it. Every time a book changes hands, every time someone runs his eyes down its page, its spirit grows and strengthens. Every book you see here has been somebody's best friend. Now they have only us, Daniel. Do you think you'll be able to keep such a secret? Oh, isn't that beautiful? And then I love this, when he finds his book, he goes, the shadow of the wind had been waiting for me there for years, probably since I was born. So beautiful. Again, beautiful prose with a beautiful story. I love that. Okay, The Night Circus. This one, again, I read it because it had so much hype. I didn't get it the first time. I knew I liked it. It was good. But I didn't get the 5-star the first time. But I couldn't get it out of my head. And I'm all, what is that? So I went back and read it again. And I started falling more and more in love with the characters, with the setting, with the circus itself. It's a circus that just pops up in a town, and it's magical, real magic, my friends, and just all the different tents that you go in, and it transports people to a different world. It's kind of like a book does. And then the writing is so gorgeous. Let me read some of the pink. It says, your curiosity got the better of you, as curiosity is wont to do. You stand in the fading light, the scarf around your neck pulled up against the chilly evening breeze, waiting to see for yourself exactly what kind of circus only opens once the sun sets. But you think perhaps you can smell caramel wafting through the evening breeze, beneath the crisp scent of autumn leaves, a subtle sweetness at the edges of the cold. And if you were ever a child that in the autumn with that cool air and the smell of the caramel corn and the excitement of the fair, the circus, it just takes you there. Another thing I thought was beautiful in this book is they quote Oscar Wilde, which is one of my favorites. It says, a dreamer is one who can only find his way home by moonlight, and his punishment is that he sees the dawn before the rest of the world. Let's see, I got some orange tabs here. Let's see what, I've forgotten what the orange ones were. Those are usually my mind-blowing things. Let's see what I did. Why do we wind our watch? Because everything requires energy. She recites obediently, eyes still focused on her hands. We must put effort and energy into everything we wish to change. It's not a real name, she says, not one that he carries with him always. It's one he wears like his hat, so he can take it off if he wants. So I'll tell you what hit me about that. It is about our life energy. What do we choose to put it into? Everything takes energy and effort, especially the things in the world we want to change. And then talking about names, I think names are important. And what is your true name? We have a true name, and then maybe we have other names that we go by. Maybe the name of our occupation, our job. But what is the name that we can't take off like a hat? Are you guys enjoying this? It's our last book. I'll spend a little more time on this one. It says, you may tell a tale that takes up residence in someone's soul, becomes their blood and self and purpose. That tale will move them and drive them. And who knows what they might do because of it, because of your words. That is your role, your gift. To see the future, but you yourself can shape it. Do not forget that. So just the power of words, the power of your story, the power of telling a tale that could change someone's mind, change someone's heart, the very trajectory of their life could be changed from your book, your words. My friends, the power of books, the power of words. Oh, I enjoyed that. Did you guys enjoy that with me? Go to the comments, let me know. Let me know if you read any of these books, if you enjoy them. And also, I'd like to know, do you have a book like this? Do you have a book that has just changed your life, that you just fell head over heels in love with, that you want to live in that world and that you want to share? Are there such beautiful words in it that they're life-changing? I'd love to know if you have any books like that also. All right, guys. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time.